Welcome, dear friends, greetings, and we welcome you to our international discussion on the Creative Society TV.
Accordingly to official data by the United Nations, more than 40 million people are victims of modern slavery. Globally, the business of human trafficking earns profit of roughly $150 billion per year. Within the last 15 years, the number of children among victims has increased threefold. Poverty, hunger, deaths, conflicts, and destruction due to climate disasters leave people insecure in our consumer world. Can we call ourselves a civilized society? What is the real way out? To know the truth about the global crisis we face as humanity, to hear specialists and eyewitnesses from all over the world, and the most important, learn about the real way out. Join on May 7th, 2022, International Online Forum, Global Crisis, Where People, We Want to Live, with simultaneous translation into 100 languages. People stop being silent, because every day in consumer format costs lives.
Yes, and some of the topics which will be raised during the forum are the real cause of global climate change, who and why is hiding the truth from the people, climatic disasters through the eyes of eyewitnesses, refugees, why does it affect everyone, escalating social violence, slavery, and human trafficking. And more importantly, we will cover how by building the creative society, we can solve all the above mentioned problems. If you want to be an informational partner of this event, please write us to info@creativesociety.com.
And today, our discussion is dedicated to the previous conference, Global Crisis Time for the Truth, which revealed the true cause of climate change, the absurdity of the consumeristic format of our society, and the only way out, which is in building a creative society. Watch the conference and become a speaker of truth. Share this information with people you know, in your social networks, record your video, or write an article. It's time when we no longer can be silent. And today, we're glad to welcome our guests who already speak openly and work with the problems of modern slavery, violence, and violation of human rights. I would like to introduce our speakers. Nadira Karimova from Uzbekistan, chairman of the board of the NGO National Social Information Center, Istiqbolli Avlod. Greetings, Nadira.
Здравствуйте. Всех приветствую. Я являюсь руководителем организации, основным направлением которой является борьба с торговлей людьми. То есть хотела бы сфокусироваться на том, что наша деятельность в течение 20 лет направлена на борьбу, и вы согласитесь, это немало, 20 лет. И хотелось бы обменяться своим опытом, хотелось бы послушать других о том, что делается в ракурсе данного направления. Поэтому очень благодарна за то, что пригласили меня. Спасибо.
Thank you so much. The next speaker of today's discussion, Kolawole Olatosimi from Nigeria, National Coordinator of Child and Youth Protection Foundation. Greetings, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on this particular international discussion and to discuss issues that are very, very important to our existence as humans in all parts of the world. And I want to greet also my co-speakers, and I'm looking forward to learning some new things and also adding my voice to the changes that we need to make in the world to have a better and peaceful world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Kolawole, and thank you for your contribution, which you do. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Guadalupe Judith Rodriguez from Mexico, physical anthropologist, a PhD candidate at the National School of Anthropology and History. Greetings.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Buen día a todas y a todos, a todes. Es un gusto estar aquí, de poder dialogar, de poder conversar sobre problemáticas que nos afectan y que están lacerando a mucha población. En México, la desaparición de personas, por supuesto que tiene que ver con el tema de la esclavitud y principalmente hacia las mujeres. Yo me dedico a dar acompañamiento a las familias que están viviendo esta situación. Hay vidas fracturadas, familias fracturadas. Entonces me parece muy importante el que podamos encontrarnos en estos espacios internacionales y poder compartir las experiencias y, ¿por qué no?, empezar desde nosotros a buscar soluciones. Me parece que sería es el objetivo. Muchas gracias a todas, a todos, a todes.
Thank you, Guadalupe. And I would like to introduce Huma Kirmani from Pakistan. Huma Kirmani is a TEDx speaker, Peace Ambassador of INSPAD, NMF Peace SDG 16, Honorary Member of United Nations of Pakistan, author, poet, human rights advocate, educationist, mentor and advisor of Women Ascension, Honorary Member of the International Women's Writing Guild. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very honored to be amongst the people who are just thinking about the agony and the misery that the world has been through for ages. I'm, as you said, that I'm a TEDx speaker, an advocate for human rights and women's rights, working for women empowerment in the rural areas of Pakistan. And apart from that, I usually write about the child abuse, human trafficking, and the rights of the young girls who are compelled to marry at very early age. Being an educationist and a mentor, I have worked with a number of the underprivileged school staff whom I trained, and let them know that what are the modern and the most applicable strategies to apply in their schools. Thank you very much again. I think that is a very prestigious forum.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, dear Huma. And we're so glad to welcome all our speakers today. And before we start with our discussion, we would like to present to you a video fragment from the previous conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth.
In this video, we had to change some words and expressions using milder terms. But we hope that the severity of the problems looming over our society will still be evident. In the 21st century, human civilization boasts about its high level of intellectual development and incredible technological achievements. At the same time, at least half the world's population do not receive the health service they need. 8 billion deaths occur every year as a result of poor quality of medical care. Healthcare costs are so high that they drive about 100 million people into extreme poverty each year. Living below the poverty line leads to an increase in child labor. Nearly 1 child out of every 10 is forced to work. Often, this work involves hazardous machinery and poisonous fumes. The list of products produced by child slave labor includes gold and precious stones, coffee, cocoa, rice, baby products, and clothing. According to UN statistics alone, more than 40 million people are victims of modern slavery. Forced labor, child labor, forced marriage, debt bondage, human trafficking for illegal exploitation, and recruitment of children for armed conflict. In the consumeristic format of society, people have already surpassed wild animals in terms of cruelty. More and more often, children are used as live bombs. In Nigeria, criminals put an explosive on a girl with a baby in her arms. After years of warfare, the economic crisis and drought have caused famine in Afghanistan. There is a well-known case where a mother was forced to sell her little daughter for 400 euros to feed her other children. Today, more than 41 million people are one step to death from starvation, and about 811 million people are starving. Meanwhile, every year, more than 1 billion tons of food are thrown away, and unsold goods, including those produced by means of slave labor, are destroyed. The absurdity of consumer society is that a human himself has become a commodity. Annual income from human trafficking worldwide is $150 billion, which is the largest source of illicit profit in the world. There are 534 human trafficking flows registered in 148 countries. The number of detected child victims had tripled over the last 15 years. Victims of traffickers are mainly migrants and jobless people, as they are the most vulnerable. International treaties proclaim goals of ending poverty and slavery. But in the context of a mass consumption economy, the whole system is designed to protect private capital. In the consumerist format of society, money is more valuable than human life. Worldwide, more than 2 million children a year become victims of trafficking for all kinds of exploitation. In Mexico, 25% of all women who are victims of trafficking are girls under 18.
Please help. My husband threatens me. He beats me. He forces me to have sex with his friends who come here so he can make money. They started beating me, pouring alcohol on me, making me drink, pointing a gun at me, saying they would kill me and no one would ask about me, no one would know where I was. And they opened the window and said, "Jump or we will shoot you in the head."
And did you jump?
Yes.
From which floor?
I think it was the 5th floor.
In the consumerist format of society, people are ready to kill each other to satisfy ambitions for fun and profit. Illicit trafficking of human organs worldwide is estimated at $600 million a year. According to WHO statistics, 10,000 human organs are illegally transplanted every year. In Nigeria, special baby factories are set up on a massive scale, where children are bred like a livestock. Teenage girls are forcibly impregnated and coerced to bear their life commodity for sale.
But most of them are pregnant teenagers. They were held captive for one purpose: to force them to give birth. The kidnappers were making money on selling the babies. I got a call at 6 a.m. this morning saying that there were kidnappers at the school, that all our children had been kidnapped, including my daughter. We rushed there. It was confirmed that they had all been captured.
Are we human civilization if human life has no value on this planet? To change this, we all need to stop supporting the consumeristic format of society and unite in a common goal: to build the creative society.
There is indeed an enormous amount of legislations being passed to eradicate slavery. So many conferences are being held on this subject. Billions of dollars are being spent to combat it. So many organizations are fighting it all over the world, both at official and unofficial levels, but it is not going away. Nothing is changes, and even when we look at the official statistics, the number of people who suffer from violence is growing year by year. And today, even more people are forced to leave their homes, their property, and become socially vulnerable due to the climate change.
Yes, dear guests, you all are experts in protecting people's rights, advocating for the voices of victims of violence. And you know more than anyone that the reality is much worse even than the official statistics and reports. We would like to ask you a question. Why do you think the situation is happening? Why can't we still solve this problem? And I would like to give the floor to Nadira Karimova, please.
Как бы было хорошо подмечено, что много законодательных актов.
Indeed, as you've noted quite correctly, there are various legislations and documents assigned as for human trafficking. We are kind of given of four foundations or basics. If those basics are implemented, we can defeat human trafficking, sort of. It doesn't seem to be very difficult. The four foundations, we call it the preventive measures for peace: prevention, assistance to victims, prosecution of criminals, and partnership. These are the four basics, and by doing all of these, we say that we will defeat human trafficking. But in real fact, it's very difficult. These processes for peace have been shown for a very long time that countries should come together. In other words, in some countries, as they say, we should pay more attention to prevention. And if we prevent these phenomena, we will, and if every person is aware of this, it will not happen. Others say, no, we need legislation and laws, and we need to punish criminals. The third one say that we need to help those who are hurt, who are vulnerable. But in fact, all this should go together in parallel at the same time, in the same proportions, in the same amounts, and so that there can be more prevention and less victim assistance. It should be simultaneous. But now I believe the following is also very important. We divide countries into three categories. These are countries of origin, receiving countries, hosting countries, and transit countries. And when these three types of countries agree that they will fight together, they will apply unified approaches and international standards. Now, most often we can hear that countries of destination accuse countries of origin of having the campaign. That should be more campaigns. Why your people are unemployed, why they go into other countries. Please create jobs, and that will end the problem. The countries of origin accuse the countries of destination for permissiveness in their countries, that their employers can exploit people, and governments does not respond. The transit countries, for their part, also say, blame others that such a crime, that such crimes are passing through their nations. I think it's time to unite and find all the four basics as criteria, as we call them, these four P's. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we will come back to discussing why is it happening today in our society. And I would like to ask Kalavole, you actively oppose human trafficking, child labor, child abuse, and all forms of violence against children. What factors in society are contributing to the fact that all these crimes keep existing and even increasing actually by day?
Thank you very much. One of the major factors that is contributing to the issue of child trafficking and child labor globally is that because we are still in a demand-driven society around the world. The first speakers actually spoke about countries of origin, transit countries, and destination countries. If there are no demands from destination countries for cheap labors. The rate of trafficking and child labor in the state of origins will reduce. And so, but as long as we still have a lot of demand for cheap labors, which children fall into that category, we'll still have this problem. Another factor is what I call social injustice. We see that around, where people don't have access to social justice. And social justice starts from the ability of every woman, wherever your tribe or origin, to have access to basic necessity of life: food, shelter, clothing. And now when you don't have these in most parts of the world, we will still have an increase in the issue of trafficking and child labor. We have some parts of the world that are not so blessed with natural resources, so they want to survive. And the nature of man is to migrate to a place where they can get supply. I think the United Nations needs to wake up to look at their conventions and covenants and protocols to begin to address those issues, especially the 4 P's, holistically and overboard. So social injustice is one other factor. Let me just quickly talk about one more other factors and I stop. And that's the issue of imbalance in the distribution of economic benefit across Africa, across Europe, across the world. We are seeing the wealth of the old world in the hand of about just 5% of the world population. And so what do you expect? What happens to the next 95%? Until we'll address this, we will not be able to see an end. It's not just about creating laws, going to the UN and signing conventions and protocols, and that, but you need to ensure that there's a balance in the economic provisions. There's social justice, and then countries that are very wealthy begin to work with countries that are very poor to reduce the rate of poverty in this country. If we don't do this, all those 3 things that I just mentioned now, if we don't do it overboard, at the same time, at the same speed, and over all the continent we have in the world, we may not be able to see the end to the issue of child abuse and child trafficking and human and other forms of abuse. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you too. I just would like to comment that this is also very important to understand that we need to treat this disease at the root and not just combating the consequences of the consumer format where we create this demand and still these conditions just keep existing for this demand. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to ask the next question to Guadalupe. You advocate for people who have been victims of violence. Could you please share with us from your point of view why this is still happening and what are the main challenges that you face?
Me parece muy importante la pregunta. Tendremos que pensar que esto es un proceso.
I think the question is very important. We have to think of it as a process. It's a process that creates various conditions, but I think one of the main causes is the value of a human, its condition, human value. A human has ceased to have this value as a person and has become a commodity in which children and women and vulnerable people are the ones who suffer directly from all this violence. Of course, men also. This is the reality. But I believe that this moment when we value a human being becomes a human being becomes a commodity. Perhaps this is the point or the general point when we start seeing ourselves as people, as humanity, and we start seeing ourselves as the opposite. We understand that today, and I really like what my colleagues are saying, it seems to me that where we have to go, we need to act simultaneously, at the same time to avoid certain situations which we experience. However, we can see that these countries that are not all concerned about human trafficking, and they are much more concerned about pouring money into military So we see that we are not on the same page. And as our colleague has said, social inequality is the paramount problem. If we don't fight this social inequality, where we are going to have resources and where are we going to have actually opportunities? If they are not available, if we are not at the same level everywhere, it will be hard for us to see the countries have a much, such a clear intent to support the population as a whole. And now, listening to the experience of my colleagues, I believe it is the population that we don't make the important decisions which our population needs. But we can make decisions to accompany, to listen, to provide what is needed from our experience. I think it's because the human being, the value of a human being has been discarded as a commodity. I think it's up to us to start working together, working in synergy, to be able to start reducing all these problems. And also the conversation about the education. This conversation about education, about peace, about these cultures of peace, that we need to be able to create a common ground. And this way we will be able to move forward with this synergy. I think these issues of education and peace are very important, and this is what we need to actually move forward.
Thank you very much, Guadalupe. And I would like also to ask Huma, for some people, the sale and exploitation of people, violence is just the business. And while others are forced to sell their children in order to feed the rest of the family, due to the harsh conditions they live in. And this is despite the fact that we have technologies that enable us to feed all the people on the planet. Will we people still continue to close our eyes to that, what is happening? And after all, we must sit inactively and watch what is happening. So what will be your message to people? What you would like to everyone know about this problem?
Thank you very much. The first part of the question that you have asked, that for some people, violence is the business. And for some people, violence is the compulsion that they are subjected to. Whenever we talk about the violence and, the human trafficking or just violation of the human rights, the strongest character of William Shakespeare play, the Merchant of Venice, the character was Shylock, comes to my mind. Though I think it's been hundreds of years that when William Shakespeare had written the play and he had, just wrote about Shylock, that he gave the money to the people. And afterwards, when the people were unable to return the money, he asked them to give the flesh of their body. So it was a symbolic, symbolic dramatization in Shakespeare play to give the flesh of the body. But if you see it on the basis of the reality that the world has been going through, it's almost like that you just take away the soul of a person and you say that I haven't done anything to that person. Unfortunately, regretfully, money speaks since the time when this world was being created. So you see, the power is always in the hands of the people who are influential, and how they are influential, not by their good deeds, not by their education, not by their divine nature. It's something that the money has created an unbalanced ratio in the society. easy way to earn money is exactly that the people, they just require the short path to be the rich and the richest. And this, in this rat race, people have forgotten that, that when you are just jumping over the bodies, jumping over, just molesting the emotions of the human beings around who are sufferers, who are not able to, better the violence that is being stretched to them because of their, because they are not influential, they are not resourceful. They easily become the target, or they easily become the victim of such people who are running this business. Just because that they are rich, they can buy, the existence of the ones who are just living below the poverty level, those who are not able to raise their voice. But you see, it's not about human trafficking. It's not only about the slavery. It's about that you just take away the life, the spirit, the soul of the people who are really don't deserve to be treated like this. So I think that the things are going on, and the people, the judiciary, the law and justice, that they know that such violent threats to humanity is being going around us. But unfortunately, the ones who are doing it, they are more powerful than law and justice, what I feel. That's why these things are going on and on in the society. I think that we need to change the mindset. It's not like this that whenever the people, they talk about the violence, about the money, about the ruffling of the notes. As I've said earlier, the character which comes to my mind is Shylock from the Merchant of Venice of Shakespeare play, isn't it? So he was so wicked, and on the other hand, he was so smart. He knew that once he will grab the people who are in need of help, so that he can easily compel them to his slavery. But unfortunately, the things are not being stopped, and it's been going on and on. So I think that when we are talking about peace, when we are talking about empathy, when we are talking about compassion, it has to be, it shouldn't have to be marginalized to some aspects of life. It has to be universal. When the verdicts are given to curb the violence, to stop the deterioration of such violence things around, then we should have a strong law and justice measures. That is not supposed to be like this, that law of the justice for the influential ones is different, and justice for the ones who are sufferers, who are just going through the trauma of poverty, or trauma of the things that they have trapped their souls, is different. So I think that when there will be justice, what is supposed to be, then it can stop this dilemma that violence is a business for some of the people, and it's a tragedy for some of the people who are deprived of the basic necessities of life. This is what I think that COVID-19, or the virus, was a sort of hint from the divine power of mercy, that what is life? It's nothing. That a little virus, a tiny virus, can do anything. That it changes the world. It changes the lifestyle of the world for the past 2-3 years. So I think that
the people who believe that they are stronger as compared to the ones who cannot raise their voice, who cannot speak for their rights, they should stop the business of violence like this. This is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for addressing also this important side of the problem that we need to address it also on the level of values. And this is what we all people share, that what we have in common, this is the human values. And we need to create the conditions where these values are equal for everyone in the practice. And you mentioned also that we need to change this mindset. And I think that also this kind of discussions, exchange, these conversations, the insights that you share today, friends, they help to change this mindset and to look at our world from the new perspective. So maybe you would like each of you to add something or ask something to the previous speeches.
Yeah, I just want to add to Uma, the last speaker. She talks about, for some people, violence is a business. And when you hear statement like that, I quickly jot down my jotter. And what I wrote here is that it's not just people that sells ammunitions, that sells weapons of war, that see violence as a business, but it goes down to our little homes, people that are engaged in domestic violence, men that beat their wives, men that beat women in the society, and they find pleasure in that. For them, it's business. And so in addressing these powerful people in court, then we need to address the issue of taking violence away from every sphere of business. I used to say something, I said, rape is not a crime of sexual satisfaction, but rape is a crime of dominance and of power. It is not that the man that is raping the woman is trying to get satisfied sexually, but just trying to show the woman that I have power over you, I can do whatever I want to do. And so we need to start talking about it, and that to talk about it, we need to start from the schools. We are seeing a lot of bullying in school. Some young students are seeing bullying as a form of business. They take the food of the other person, they are bullying, they take the clothes, and so we need to start from there. And like the last thing you said, we need to start creating a condition that is conducive for proper human values. If I find myself in Russia, I'm behaving the same way I would behave if I find myself in the US of A. If I find myself in Austria or in Bonn, in Germany, I'm behaving the same way, because we are all humans, we are the same. And we must begin to create conditions that encourages us to have a unified human values that respect the other person and that create platform for peace and for well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much for highlighting this domestic violence as well. Yes, you're perfectly right. And yes, you're talking about the rape. Yeah, rape is a crime. And this is something related to the mindset of dominance. On the other hand, I was very hurt when I heard about this, that there is no law in the constitution, no, that is the act in the constitution of the subcontinent about the marital rape. I don't know about Europe, America, and the other countries in Africa. Rape really is something that the man has proven to the woman who is the victim, that he is dominant to her. On the other hand as well, we need to discuss the awareness of marital rape, and there should be an act of justice in the law that a husband is also supposed to be punished for this. I have raised my voice against this, but unfortunately, I came to know that this is basically in the society where I am living. The men, have this ideology that this is their right But I think that to take the consent of your wife is a value that is supposed to be executed. The other thing that is, when you're talking about the violence is something that you just, said 3 words to a woman who is your wife and you divorce her, isn't it? And then the society starts pointing out to that girl or to that young woman or to any age of woman that now there is a blob of that infamy on her that she's being divorced. So this is also I think a business, a criminal business of violence that is taking away or just stripping away the rights of a woman. Yes, domestic violence is also a violence, and the bullying around in the schools, in the colleges, outside harassment, workplace harassment is also a violence that is supposed to be curbed. And I am a bit, happy, I would say, that this awareness is being dispersed amongst the women, that they have started sharing about the things that they had been through, that if they have been morally or sexually harassed at the workplace or in the families, if they have been harassed by any dominant person in their family, the women, they have started talking about it. Women have started sharing about it. And before that, if I'll talk about the country where I'm living, if any such violence had been done to any woman or girl, so you see that the family, there was a peer pressure of the family, and they say, do not share it with someone, it's a matter of shame. But they do not understand the mental status of that girl, of that woman who is being raped, or who is being the victim of the marital rape, or who is the victim of the sexual or moral harassment at the workplace or in the family. She was just confined, in the walls of the family peer pressure, that she is not supposed to speak that what she had been through. This is also something, a very, very, bad thing that is supposed to be changed in the society where I'm living. That is, the people, they stop their girls, they stop their daughters not to ask for the divorce, but it's better if they would live in that trauma that they have, they are being through for their lives. One thing that is the violence is not only that is the people, they are the victim of the child labor, child abuse, or the human trafficking. There are different things in the society. That is, in the rural areas of Pakistan, there is an act of honor killing, isn't it? And the girls, they are being subjected to death in the name of honor of the family. This is also the violence. So, as you have said, I really appreciate that you have highlighted that violence is not only the war and terrorism. Violence is something that when you infuriate the emotion of someone who is not as dominant as you are. So, this is what I would say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear Huma. And it's true that, as you discussed, there are so many ways of violence, but everything is about dominance and power, not about humanity and freedom. And I see our speakers also would like to add something. Nadira, would you like to say something?
Я вот как раз в продолжении по насилию
Continuing on the violence, any kind of human trafficking is, of course, violence. And you know, it's violence that we make, that people make a lot of money from it. If we speak about sexual exploitation, that's the most common form of exploitation. Look, according to the United Nations, 59% of human trafficking entails sexual exploitation. If we speak of the incomes that come from investing into sexual exploitation, that's 100 to 1,000 times. That is, there is no other activity where one can make so much money. I believe these revenues, these profits, this is quite influential. It contributes to the fact that sexual exploitation is so widespread. It actually includes physical abuse and psychical abuse. That is, a person is being humiliated, a person is beaten, and so on. And somebody makes a lot of money on that. I believe that profits, incomes play a very huge role here, huge role. Those criminals who make that money, they do anything to get it. And they do everything to recruit more and more people into their networks to get the best women and men for labor exploitation. Because money keeps coming, and even though you don't need such investment from it, you don't need to invest a lot. I mean, if you speak about weapons, you need to make some bullets or make some gunfires, but people can be exploited endlessly. You can give a glass of water and a piece of bread, and a man will go on working and working. So here you just get revenues and profits. I believe that's the basis of all that.
Thank you, Nadira, very much, because you met exactly the point, and I think you also explained very well actually the true face of consumerist format, because some people think that consumerist format is just growth of economic growth, and that we consume a lot of products. But the truest face of it is that we as people, that each of us just became a product, like an item. And that's why it's so important to see to the cause of the root of the problem, and not only fight with the consequences, because this is not effective. I saw the comment of Kalavoli, and Kalavoli let us come to the topic of empowerment and of the solutions back in the discussion soon. Thank you, friends.
Thank you so much. I just would like, Guadalupe, would you like to add something as well?
Sí, quiero un poco platicarles la experiencia en México.
Yes, I would like to tell a little bit about the experience in Mexico in this field. I want to go back to the issue of sexual exploitation. We have normalized, and it was become so normalized that there is a town here in Mexico which is called Tlaxcala, where it's sort of a cradle of men who seduce women to make them enter into the clutches of sexual exploitation, sex business. But we also know that there is an international network where these women are involved. So although in our country there have been many important advancements, in Mexico we already have legislation about rape. We still continue replicating it, and in the region of Mexico it still remains as it was. There is a region in Mexico where it is so normal that when children grow up they want to become pedros. So pimps, those people who hook women, make them a commodity, and also to ensure their long-lasting, long-scale population, economic population of this exploitation of this population. I think that this is what we should work more with these women, and not just how to work on them, but how to support them after they release networks of trafficking. After getting out of these networks, these women return to their communities and they still mistreated. I think that we should think about how we should work with these women, with children and men who underwent the clutches of trafficking. I would like to share with you that because it seems to me that it's an example of how we can actually become a commodity, we people, and how, although we have great advancements, we continue replicating these different facets of violence. That's what I wanted to share with you, that in our regions and in other regions, many people live on human trafficking, where a body is actually a commodity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, and thank you all the speakers for sharing the points. We understand that really the topic of violence and violation of human rights, it affects everyone. It's actually touching every person on our planet, and this is that global issue which we can deal it with only together. And this is complete change required in all the format of our relationships. Thank you so much. And as we know, it's important to highlight the real cause and scale of those crises that we confront as humanity. And as we said before, that nowadays going preparation for the international forum, Global Crisis, where people will want to live. And in the preparation, the informative videos are being created and published on the Creative Society TV channel. And now we would like to watch one of such videos.
Yes, today we see from around the world how many organizations try to fight the hunger, and a lot of resources are being put to combat this problem. But what we just saw in the video, there are technologies that allow us to apply the technologies everywhere so that there is no such a problem as hunger, because it will be enough everywhere in the world. Is it in this African continent, South America, or any other big region. So we can be really independent from any circumstances that we have today on our planet, because we have the solutions. So it turns out that we just need the demand of us as people for implementation of these technologies. And it needs, of course, the conditions. So why people are forced to migrate up to the point where parents are forced to sell their children in order to feed the rest of the family. So because of the hunger, poverty, and hopelessness. So these issues of poverty and hunger exist due to the consumerist format itself. But today we have a way out. This is the creative society, in which all the resources and technologies of society are aimed at ensuring a safe and human worthy life.
Yes, that's true. And as every person should have a goal in life, we as society also need to have one common goal and understanding where we are moving. So far we are all divided in some local issues and some local focuses, and yet we're even struggling with each other. But only by having and understanding our common goal, we can move towards it and we can be sure that we have a future. And today we know that humanity has voiced how this future looks and its creative society. It took participants of the project 10 years to survey people all over the world and find out what kind of society we want to live with. We can give it any name other, but the main thing is that creative society is the society where every person can be free, feel safe, where everyone lives comfortably and with dignity. We may have different nationalities, we may have different professions, interests, but we all are people and we want to live. And today we have the 8 foundations, that basis and that goal which can unite all of us and ensure good life for every person on our planet. And now I would like to address my question to Kolawole. In your opinion, how important is it for humanity really to join hands in one goal and keep aside everything what we think may divide us?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It's very important, because if we do not work together, and then the whole world is on self-destruct. What is happening in any part of the world, give it a month or two, will begin to affect all parts of the world. And so collectively, as a people that live in the world, we must begin to contribute, one, to personal development of everybody in the world. Number two, we must begin to contribute to the welfare of everybody in the world. Number three, we must begin to contribute, any part of the world that we're staying, to the safety of everybody in the world. Because if we do not do that, insecurity in one part of the world will migrate as the people migrate to other parts of the world. Hunger in one part of the world will migrate to all parts of the other parts of the world. And also violence, we've seen now violence migrating from one part of the world to the other. I remember when I was in Austria, I spent some time in Austria, and we found out that there's a particular group of people that came from another part of the country, and they begin to foment trouble in that part of Austria, because they are violent people. Violent have not been stopped in their own country. They came to Austria and begin to spread violence. So we must begin to collectively look at, and I want to stop here by saying, we must, as the world, begin to look at 3 aspects that is very, very critical: the personal well-being of everybody in all parts of the world. And we must look at that with our actions, our responses, and our intervention. Number 2, we must begin to also look at the material well-being of everybody in the world. The well-being of people in Africa should be a concern from people in America and in Britain. And then number 3, we must begin to look at the relational well-being of everybody in the world. And what do I mean by relational well-being? The way I relate to the other person, the way Nigeria relates with people in Ghana should be interest to the people in America, because if we don't have good relational well-being, it will affect the well-being of the universe as a whole. And so in every of our intervention as a people, we must not just look at our family, our country, but we must look at the next country, and then universally, to know that we have safety, security, drive out poverty. And that is one of the ways in which we'll be able to begin to see a world that is living at peace. And we begin to walk away from all this turbulence and all this problem we have in the world. Thank you.
I have to thank you, because I couldn't agree more. And thank you for basically naming all the foundations of creative society. We have also one more that is also self-governing society. That means that we as society collectively can take part, we have to take part in the decision-making. So everything that you mentioned, the security, the distribution of world wealth, the equal rights and also opportunity, meaning that each person everywhere in the world will have the access to high-quality education, high-quality medicine care, and everything we need, because we have the resources for it. But you also mentioned previously in our discussion that what we're observing today that the the majority of resources are now in the hands of just a little percentage of people who earn their money actually on exploitation of others. So this is really inhumane format. And what you also said, that we basically need also to create these conditions, and the role of everyone is really matters. So, and we will come back to this question again, because this is really something that makes it possible to make this global change in a short time. So I would like to ask Huma, who is also very well aware of the 8 foundations of creative society, where the human life is the most and highest priority. Huma, I would like to ask you, how do you think will such cruelties as slavery or violence exist in the creative society? Is it possible if we implement the 8 foundations?
It's a very important question that is supposed to be asked to everybody who is here in the world. When we talk about the borders, I think the borders are the man-made geographical lines, isn't it? Because the creator of this universe hasn't drawn any sort of lines. If you just look at the 7 skies, they are in a continuity. If you just look at the 7 seas, isn't it? They are in the continuity. If you will just look around the range of mountains, it's also in a sort of continuity. As I have told you that I'm from Pakistan, and this region has gotten a history. That is the people, when, that Pakistan and India, they emerged as the 2 separate independent states. There were, a series of migration from the newly formed Pakistan to India, and from India to Pakistan. And the second migration that the subcontinent had ever come across is after the fall of Dhaka, isn't it? Because the Pakistan, that it was just broken into the 2 parts, and it emerges as Bangladesh. The second migration that the people of this subcontinent had come across. So you see that the trauma, that is the people, they left their homes, they left their, the family values with which they had been living together in a community in the subcontinent. So I think that the 8 foundation of the creative society can be well maintained if we will start thinking beyond the borders, across the borders. There should be no barriers, isn't it? When the maker of this universe, when God hasn't fenced the world into different continents, into different parts of the world, why, on the basis of the man-made geographical markings of the border, we just enslave the rich and universal thinking to be good to the others above any sort of racial or religious discrimination. Being a Pakistani, I shared the history of my land, isn't it? That how the people of this subcontinent had been through the trauma of migration. It's not easy to leave their entire values, entire background of their lives somewhere else, and just then go somewhere and begin to root themselves into a different environment. But somehow, change is somehow that that one thing I would like to say here, that human nature is very adaptable, isn't it? We all are very adaptable to a new change, whatever comes in our life. But in my opinion, my perception is this, that it is the high time to enliven, to strengthen the 8 foundation of the creative society, that if we'll start thinking above the man-made geographical lines, which we said that this is the border, you can cross it. This is the border, you can cross it. Even though if it's difficult for the rulers, for the policymakers of this world, I think that in our minds we can change it, isn't it? If we'll start thinking about that language is not the barrier, borders are not the barriers, we are all human beings. That I would like to say one thing here, though I'm not good in this technological affairs, I told you earlier, but the technology has changed the world into a global village, isn't it? You see that we are from the different parts of the world, but we are, today we are together on the basis of this technology, isn't it? So I think that, as I've said earlier as well, that it is the time to change the mindset, even if it's not possible for the rulers, for the, the influential people to change the geography of the world from borders to no borders. But minds can be set up accordingly, isn't it? Because everything comes into being when we have started giving a thinking process to that. So I think that when we start thinking beyond the borders, across the borders, and there will be no barriers for the people, so that will be a great initiation for the 8th foundation of the creative society. Creativity is not something that you start appreciating the good things around you. God has created a beautiful world. Why we are not letting it be as we have been gifted from the divine mercy, from the divine power of God, isn't it? So I think that there's a line, I think, of beauty is a joy forever. So creativity is something that once you start it, it will remain with us as a joy forever. This is what I want to say, that even if it's not possible to, to finish or to end the border lines, but at least from the mindset can be changed, that we'll start thinking universally. We'll start thinking about the people above all racial and religious discrimination. Don't be an extremist. Try to be creative, because creativity can create many, many peaceful domains which can facilitate the life of the people around us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Huma. Thank you so much for sharing it. And it's really understanding that we don't have borders, first of all, when we understand that we're, first of all, human. And that human part is us, which unites all people around the world. And we have one goal, we have one wish, to live as a human, with dignity, with respect, in freedom, and supporting each other. Thank you so much for highlighting this.
One thing, I'm sorry I'm intervening, but you say that there is only one sun, there is only one moon, there is one sky above us, and so why there are so many discriminations, why there are so many divisions? Though you see the sun sets in the east and then rise in the west, and then sun sets in the west and rise in the east. Isn't it the equality of the Creator that He has given this immense power of energy to everybody? So why do we just trying to have the light of this universe for some people and not for everyone? Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you so much. And it's true that creative society, as we call this format, is that society in which every person wants to live, because that ensures really life freedom for every person and allows us to fulfill our best aspirations. And it works only when we people strive for this goal and implement it together. And I would like to address my question to Guadalupe. Could you please share, in your understanding, how in the shortest way and in the shortest period of time we can bring this understanding to every person? so that we all and every person in our planet could understand own value and that we all play a crucial role in this global change.
Es una pregunta muy importante. Muchas gracias.
It's a really very important question. Thank you very much, because I believe that we need time. Today we need time. Resources are running out. A human being, people who have power, they use resources as something important. They are important. There is an environmental impact. It seems to me that we need to make an urgent call to everyone to save this planet, because all, as my colleague says, it's like the sun which we have, and we only have one moon which covers all of us. It seems to me that creative society can be that very possibility to make an urgent call to everyone, to realize, to rescue the essence of a human being. We are diverse, and in our small screens we can see the great diversity which actually exists. We are diverse but humans, and there is something that unites us. It's what we know, it's the knowledge that we do have an opportunity to take care of the dignity of each of us. It seems to me it's very important. It's very important to rescue the essence of what is human, to safeguard this essence of people, right? So this would be a very important, central, important element. We have to recognize one thing, that people are not violent by their nature. We learn violence in the course of life, and we have to recognize that there is a great diversity of thoughts, ideas, needs. Perhaps by recognizing this diversity and recognizing our differences, we can begin to generate dialogues in order to save ourselves and to overcome all these conflicts that may arise. It seems to me that dialogue and recognition of each other, recognition and embracing of the difference, embracing these differences could perhaps be a way for us to start working. And as our colleagues commented, to start working all together in a synergy. Education, love from the family, and recognition of the differences. Knowledge of the fact that we are different. This is what are the things which there are things which I cannot like. That's fine, and there are such things which I can dislike, but there are some things which, such a thing as respect, it's natural that we dislike something, but we respect. We respect freedom of other people to take their own decisions, and this will be a good way for us to move forward. It seems to me that these 8 foundations of the creative society are very important, that they cover the whole prospect of recognizing each other, of acknowledging each other. It's the beginning of our brotherhood. As our colleague said, that it's the beginning, and now since we have a global network via internet, via technologies, and we can know the experience of others, we can know the strategies which are useful, and I think we should use the time very urgently. It's what we do, we should do right away in order to facilitate our cooperation and even to save our resources, to save ourselves from violence, and to generate a community which will enable us to continue advancing in order to live in peace, to live in love, to live in harmony, in collaboration, because violence is not natural. It's not something inherent in human beings, but collaboration is natural for us. Evolutionary speaking, collaboration has enabled us to live, to create population, to create many things, to be able to be well. I think that this is the way we need to focus on collaboration, on being able to hear each other and conduct dialogue.
We people are one family and we share same values. And what we're missing today, maybe also in the news, also the positive examples, because what we see today what's forming and shaping our worldview. This is exactly the topics that we were talking today. But I would like also to pass the last question to Nadira. So we need this change also on the mindsets, on the informational level, as well in the mass media, but also we as consumers of the mass media, of the information, we contribute to what is actually being shown to us. So I would like to ask you where this transformation, this big change starts. So how the media can contribute to this transformation from consumer society to the creative one.
Вы знаете, действительно,
really, the role, this role, as we can say in simple terms, the role of information disseminators, this role is very important. It conducts a big impact, and it's a huge impact. I would also like to approach this issue in terms of culture. I mean, we need to educate our generation on the culture of non-violence. I mean, non-violence should be taken for granted. Our children should grow up, and when they become adults, should not even have a thought in their minds that there should be one control of one person or another, so one person or another. I think it's very important how we deliver this information. It is extremely important. And we've really experience of various countries. In countries where there is free press, where journalists and bloggers can openly speak and discuss problems, it is clear that the issues we discuss regarding human trafficking are not as acute in those countries because, the priorities of non-violence are quite clear there. It's quite important and well said, violence. It's the priority of non-violence. This is very important. I think that this platform, Creative Society, is very useful. Then the very point, your ideas about creation. I mean that creation and violence are incompatible. Creation cannot be combined with violence. Creation is definitely not violence. I don't even think anyone needs to prove that. Of course, creative world is a world without any violence. So your ideas, your work are very important, and this work is, and the most important thing I think in us, because we also should spread it. We should also reach out to the world. We should preach, so to say, preach this word. That is to say, we need to go it further and further.
Yes, I agree, and thank you very much, because you exactly shared that the creative format, it has, a bigger understanding that this creation, that we make something new, and it starts with us. And we as people, that's why I created this platform of the project where people can freely share their opinions, their experience, and to talk about what can bring us forward, what is the solution. Because we all know that, what the problems are, and we cannot talk about them every day. We also need to see the future, to build it together. And that's why I would like to thank each of you for being with us today, for sharing this inspiration and deep understandings. First of all, for being also the example that this global change starts with each of us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear speakers. And as this discussion and all their events which are being conducted by participants of Creative Society project, I just would like to remind that this is the first stage of implementation of the Creative Society. That stage when we need to inform all people around the world about possibility which we have. So then we can move to the next stage, implementing it in each country on all the levels. Because today we see, and today we discussed with you, which horrors people are facing in consumer world. And we as humanity now all facing the biggest enemy, common enemy, is climate, which is already today destroying people's life, leaving many people with nothing. They become refugees, they become insecure and even enslaved. So but unfortunately, how can we come with common solutions as everyone is pulling blanket on each other and thinking about some local issues while we have so global questions and we need to solve them together. And for that, we have already all conditions. We have created technologies. We have created all the possibilities to make new economic relationships, to completely get rid of corruption. We have the technology to predict climate disasters, to provide food, water, to save people from incurable diseases. We even can build houses within 1-2 days with 3D printing. We have everything possible. The only what we need is to change the format from consumer-oriented to the creative one. And unfortunately today, billions of people still don't know that we have way out. And it's very simple steps. So the first thing which we need is to inform each person on our planet and create this common demand and unite with this common goal. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. And today, thanks to technologies, we have the opportunity to talk to each other, and we will have a bigger opportunity very soon as well. And we would like to inform you, dear friends, that now there is the preparation for a huge strategically important event is going on. And this is the Worldwide Forum, Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live, which will be held on the 7th of May this year. And we invite all people to join this event. We also invite bloggers, media representatives, companies, and individuals to be informational partners of the forum. There are simple ways of informing people. For example, share the trailer of the forum in social networks, place the link on the website, make the video invitation to your subscribers, and use other creative ideas of reaching everyone with this important message, because we are people and we want to live. Be a hero, voice the truth, and join the millions who already act. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very
Muchas
much.
gracias, un placer verdaderamente conocerles, escucharles y poder compartir.
Thank you very much. It was very pleasant. I was very glad to see you and hear you.
I appreciate that again you have highlighted the climate change, isn't it? It's such a monster which is just moving toward us silently, very quietly, and we should be aware of the consequences of it. Very nice, and really, I think that the first thing to make the creativity in the world, that we all have to think beyond the borders, across the borders, and just we all are tied in one very strong rope that is being knotted from the divine mercy, is that we all are human beings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you very much for your cooperation and inviting all of us here. It's a great honor, and really my best wishes to the Creative Society